Hello, everybody. So we're here on this rainy day to talk about standing around. Not just standing around, but very sort of mindful, purposeful standing. This is bugging me. And so we're going to talk about it in the way of like standing meditation. Now, the sort of preface to this is that I understand some people might have some trauma associated with or struggles with standing meditation because it might. Okay, I don't know if you heard that. Apparently, my cat has something to say about that. Do you, Lala? No, no. I know she doesn't like it when I do standing meditation because I'm not giving her attention. The pug's the same way. But it could seem as if some people have been kind of made to just kind of, stand there and maybe hold a stress position or something like that. I understand how it could be perceived as being like stressful or kind of re-traumatizing or anything. That's not my intention in the least, quite the opposite. And if standing meditation is done correctly, it is not a stress position at all. And the more you do it, the more your body gets used to being able to. Okay, I'll let you down. In a unified fashion, be able to relax more into it. So you can stand in some of these things in longer and longer times. Again, they're not meant to be stressful. They're meant to be in a way that now, as you kind of settle in and figure out how to make the little minute adjustments throughout the body that you need to be correct, then it actually is very helpful. Apparently, back in the day, according to Bruce Kumar Francis, the Taoists had roughly 200 or so different standing postures. And over the years, some schools of this, that, or the other thing kind of use different ones in in different ways. We're going to kind of do the main one, Zhang or standing post posture. This was also told to me as sort of like two hands hold the tree, because that's kind of how you want to hold your body with it. 20, I think it was in the 20th century, a Xingyi guy actually made something called Yi Chuan, Yi like intent boxing or anything, and the basis of that are 8 standing postures, one of which being the sort of main one, and the other one's almost being in some fashion different levels of it. So now if you take the combinations of those 8, it's not all just here or here and here and here and, up, down, up. Now all of a sudden, if you take that and flip them over, that's a different posture. So now we got 9, 10, 11, 12 instead of this, so 12. We've got, 13, 14, but then you can start doing all the things with moving one foot in front of the other or standing on one leg or in different stances, and that expands up as you want to go depending upon what you want to train and how. On top of that, standing meditation is really good if we're going to talk about, again, bringing that mind-body connection, being able to connect in to even some of the little interconnective stuff that we're not used to working or used to thinking about. It can help give you some sort of awareness to that. It also gives a lot of awareness as to where you're holding tension. Because even if everything's done correctly, if you got tension stored in there, you're going to know it. And as you slowly progress up from maybe a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, onto other ones, then you'll be able to really kind of feel where that is, and you'll learn how to kind of let it go. And also be able to use the whole body as one unified sort of connected unit as you go through and like anything else you want to do, let alone playing internals. Now, if we're going to, I'll just throw in, this has, it's a meditation. So there's the focus and the mindfulness of it. The sort of when we say non-attachment, I'm not saying, oh, well, you have to be completely free of all, because you're not. You're not going to be completely free of everything. You still need to eat, sleep, drink water, have social interactions with people and stuff like that. You're still going to need to have a job and all these other things. Um, so non-attachment just means that when the thoughts are coming up, this is what we're going with. We're just going with this right now. When the thoughts come up, and you're going to have thoughts because your mind is a sort of thought-producing thing. The idea isn't, okay, well, oh, here's this song, and I'm going to sing this song in my head. And then that reminds me of, oh, did you see The Mandalorian? And then, oh, what's this? I'm looking over. I got a Game of Thrones book over there. Da, 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 da. And, oh, you follow that. That's attaching to all the thoughts. And then it's kind of shattering your kind of laser focus with that. You want to bring all that, okay, I'm looking up and I can see Game of Thrones book. Okay, settle back in. Oh, it's like, oh, boom, crashing sound. No, that wasn't my window. Let it go. Recenter back down to where we're going to focus. That's kind of where we want to do. It's the identifying with those thoughts are the things that are kind of pulling us out of where we want to go in a meditative way. You're still whining. So on top of that, now we're just going to throw a little thing about energy with that. So there's kind of three main sort of postures for meditating, and a large part there's lying down, sitting, and standing up. Now, if we're talking about energy, standing up is one of the most kind of powerful ones because of the polarity between the baihui, the crown of your head, and the ground. I'm here on the second floor. But even that, my feet are still going to be closer to the earth and that sort of pull and energy and magnetism of the earth. My head's going to be further away. So the polarity through the whole body is much bigger. It's like, the whole body is really like kind of pumping and generating that energy. With the sitting, this is where now refinement of that energy comes in because your bai hui and your hui yin being like your perineum, that lowest point of your torso. That's a smaller polarity now. So instead of your big polarity of your whole body, it's a smaller polarity of just like your head and, torso area up. All that sort of thing. So now in with the internal organs, your chakras or the dantians as we go through, the sort of main, the main kind of Ren and Du channel meridians and kind of super highways of energy, all of that, it's finer work. It's getting in and really getting some other work in there and even working in terms with the mind. Lying down is almost purely mindfulness and relaxation. You have no polarity of energy because you're flat. The whole body's flat. So the energy is going to be even top down and bottom up with that. So that's mostly relaxation. That's mostly sort of even focusing mind, stuff like that, and not getting as much energy work as you go. So standing is also good because I think sometimes it also helps being able to facilitate moving energy because now it's, since your polarity is there, but standing, you can do the sort of postnatal like Tai Chi breathing. So there's like the two main meditative breathings where you not stepping on anyone. So if I got my navel's here, my lower dantian is here, or the second chakra, however you want to say. So it's like here, and I got my lower back here, or maybe this will be, nope, that's not easier to see. This, I pull in, exhale, push out. And I pull in and push out. So this is very exaggerated. And I've gone over breathing before, but I always keep going over breathing no matter what. So the postnatal, the standing, moving, sort of Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua, and even now with the standing meditation you can do, you breathe in and pull into the small of the back, exhale, and it expands forward. So that helps you focus in with that lower dantian in terms of the mind, but it also helps facilitate energy. And if you're going to help, it can help facilitate now moving as you're using, you got to use your mind for this, your intent. You have to use your mind for this, and it helps facilitate that movement. You can move the energy with the mind with that sort of practice of thinking with it. And it's much easier. Now, if we go the other way, the sort of sitting or lying down one, which they'll use in Chan or Zen a lot, is the prenatal. So you breathe in and expand that lower dantian, lower abdominal area. And as you exhale, retreats back. So you breathe in and expand, exhale, retreats back. Now you can do that with standing, but it might actually get more effects doing the postnatal, the Tai Chi sort of breathing with it. So that's so what we're gonna talk about first and mostly is a sort of a neutral stance, and the neutral stance is going to be, kick off my slippies here. So normally I don't like being in socks so much. I got slippers and stuff, but it might give a contrast with the rest of everything I'm wearing. So my feet are about shoulder width. My knees are going to be slightly bent. Now the important thing with this is my knees aren't bent here or here or wonky stuff. My knees, when they bend, are going to go right out. If I was to bend more, like almost like a squat, go out over the feet. And that's a very important alignment, and it even helps align the hips and lower back. Because what happens is that this allows the body weight to go through the feet into the ground and not into your knees or into your hips. Because if your body weight is used to sitting on that knee and not correctly using the architecture of the skeletal structure, you're going to hurt your knee. It's going to wear out. It's going to hurt. It's going to wear out. Your alignments are going to be off. It's going to start hurting your hip. It's going to start hurting your lower back, all that other stuff. So you got to get that alignment correct. It's the same thing in Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua, Qigong, weightlifting, and even just normal posture, even Western normal posture. These alignments need to be in there to be able to be correct and be more healthy with just taking care of your physiology. Some of the bad back, history, knee problems, nerve damage, all this other stuff. I can tell you, when my back went and I had problems in my spine, when this leg was pretty much numb, or at least from like here down numb for about 6 months, I was still able to not only do my own personal training without further injury or much hindrance, other than the pain mostly, and my range of motion got kind of shot, and my range of motion, flexibility, some of the stuff got shot, and my leg basically had, like, my glutes and my thigh almost kind of looked like they had a stroke, which kind of ostensibly they did with the sciatic nerve damage that got inflamed really badly. But I was still teaching and stuff too. I was still doing my job and having, sometimes there's kind of these physical sort of dangers in my job with that. Still doing all that. I was able to do that because my structure and my alignments were correct enough. I'm not saying they're perfect, but were correct enough that I could then still function in these ways. And then as things evened out, the swelling went down and things started healing, then I was able to start kind of getting my flexibility back. My flexibility isn't as what it was beforehand, but it's also 5 years later, and I wasn't getting 5 years younger in that amount of time. But I've also been able to get a lot of flexibility back, get a lot of strength back, and I added a bunch of weightlifting stuff to it with the correct posture, taking the ego out of it, doing the reps with the weights correctly as opposed to just loading up the weight and hurting myself further. That's been able to really help rebuild that area and keep it healthy and keep it strong and things like that. So, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Didn't want my... There we go again. Sorry, that was weird. Don't want my tea to explode. Okay, so posture. Feet shoulder width apart, knees slightly bent over the feet. So now I'm here. I do not want the Western weightlifting or workout hinge. This is good if you're getting in to do a deadlift, you're coming into a squat, something like that. That's where it's supposed to be. With this, we want that tailbone and glutes tucked in, not pushing forward like that. No. And so if you're hinging, straighten up. So you want your bai hui and the hui in to be in one line. So if there was a pull going from the top of your head straight through the body, coming out the perineum, whichever way you say it. Swallowed wrong, sorry. That's your center line. That's your true center line, not just what you can draw down your nose and down your sternum. Your true center line is that hada line from the crown through the perineum, the bai hui of the hui yin. That's the axle and axis that you're rotating on. And that needs to be, in internals, that needs to be So if I go sort of dantian and dantian here, that needs to be like you've got like a pole or a flag going straight through. We want that. That tailbone kicks out and you hinge, you've lost that. It's broken somewhat with this. So we want to be straight. We want the tailbone tucked in and we sit. We want the upper as relaxed as we can, the lower taking it. So it's like the water and the upper is the boat sitting on it. Now, for the arm bit, get in here so I don't have to yell as much. Now, we also want the head like it's being pulled up, like one of those biology skeletons, chin tucked in, tongue behind the teeth at the roof of the mouth. So what we have then with that is, and this is the posture that we want for internals anyway. Qigong, Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua, doesn't matter. This is the thing that we want for that. And we want, when Yang Chen Fu has his 10 principles, he says, collapse the chest and raise the back. He's not talking collapse the chest and raise the back and get that kind of like hunch thing or anything like that. Raise the back is talking about the spine. So you get the spine to extend. So you have, vertebra, disc, vertebra, and a lot of times it might be here. We want to extend that a little bit. So pulling up and keeping up as opposed to sort of crunching yourself down where your ribs are kind of sitting in and everything. So keeping up, extending the hips down and the head up is opening those spaces. You're raising the back. Collapsing the chest is basically to sort of get rid of that sort of real guy, walking around like, yeah, tough guy, right? Big, tough, strong guy. It's bullcrap. We want to relax that. So instead of the shoulders back, chest out, bring the shoulders slightly forward. So there's a light curve from anterior deltoid to anterior deltoid. A little curve. Not straight line, not convex, little concave, not collapsed. So in the way we hold our arms will help to facilitate that and vice versa. So remember, when we do this, the idea is to keep a unified whole of the body. And to be able to do that, if I'm standing here and all of a sudden I'm real strong and I'm pushing this out, or I'm out to the side, or this is up, what happens is that this is flexing and tense and tight. And what happens is that now is at the very least two things. So I've got my whole body, which was relaxed and unified, and then my arm is a separate other thing. And if there's enough tension and I'm holding it, I'm flexing it enough, now not only is my body one thing, my shoulder is another thing, and then my arm is something else. So now I've chopped myself up into more pieces as opposed to bringing it all into one thing. We want to bring it all into one thing. As a side note too, Zhang has been one of the most important things that has helped me out a lot. It's helped light stuff up in all sorts of fun, energy sort of ways. It's taught me a huge amount about the posture and moving energy, everything I need for the internal stuff. It's been huge for that. It's even helped me in terms of like application stuff as well. Now you might, if you see me and I do this, I might kind of do this a little bit. Some of that's a little self-soothing, especially with the back. But if I get in and do the standing, I usually do, if I'm just doing the regular one like this, roughly 20 minutes or so. I had built up a little bit further before, but 20 minutes is kind of my baseline for that. But then there's, alternates and stuff that we'll discuss as well. So with that being said, the arm bits. So I want you to lift your arms at the wrists. Don't lift your shoulders. Almost imagine that there's like a marionette string around your wrist, and that's what's bringing your hand up. Or you can think of it in terms of maybe you can just imagine your room is filling with water. There are other substances that sometimes some hardcore like Taoist dudes use. We'll just go with water right now. So imagine if the room's filling with water and your arms are just floating on that water. Now it's also going to be led by the lower dantian. And there's some like Tai Chi or opening sort of posture stuff that we can talk about too. And that is, it's like an expansion. So if we breathe in, as you breathe in with that lower dantian and bring that area back to the spine, you can imagine the body then inflating, lifting at the wrists, elbows down, See, my elbow is, it's not out here, it's down here, up here. So I'm going to do then, think two hands hold the tree. I'm going to wrap my arms around the tree or the ball. So my palms are facing into my chest, my wrists are roughly shoulder height, and there's a slight angle from wrist to elbow. So elbow and wrist even, no good, too much tension in the shoulder. But there's a couple of things. We can have it at this front, or you can bring it down a little more. Keep that fist distance between the body and the arm. But this is another one of the Yichuan postures. This one helps Pengjing from Tai Chi, or the ward-off energy. If we bring the elbows slightly up, again, we don't want to bring the elbows up to engage the shoulders. We're going to sort of inflate the body. Now, one of the other sort of Yang Chen Fu principles is making the back almost like a bow. And I was doing some research into my Yang style training, and Yong Jun was talking about these principles, and he's the sort of torchbearer for the Yang family in this generation. And what he's talking about is the back like a bow and arrow. Now, we don't want it tight like this. It's like the elbows are the ends that hold the string, and the back is the actual bow. So the string in this analogy or picture would be coming around kind of front. But these are where the string connects. But around the back, so around the tricep, around those sort of teres and rhomboids and everything, the scapula on side to side, that's the bow. So we kind of want that with the shoulders down. You can see there's like a circle here. We want that circle. We don't want like a bump, and we don't need an oval with it. We kind of want a circle. So that's what we have. So we're sitting with that nice straight back, knees over the feet, tailbone tucked in. That center line we talked about, nice and straight. Two hands hold the tree. It's also Zuan, I think, translates to standing post posture. And that's what we have. We're like a wrapping around like a big post that's just drilled into the ground. We even had one of my Tai Chi students talking about, we're playing push hands. We're on the second floor of a building. He's like, dude, it feels like you're rooted in 6 foot into the ground, and we're on the second floor. And this was something that definitely helped with that. The rooting and neutralizing. So we want to have even breathing. So if we breathe in for, say, a 3 count, we want to exhale for a 3 count. Nice and even, nice and smooth, nice and just soft. There really shouldn't be. It's a little hard for me with my sinuses, and this is collapsing a little bit. I've got allergies and infections and sinusitis for like my whole life. So it's kind of hard sometimes. This kind of just does this to me. It's like cement in my face. That's why I have to do that sometimes. So you might hear me a little bit. But you want to try and make it, in breathing in and out through the nose, and try and make it as sort of quiet as possible, because the quieter it is, the less sort of tension is being built up with it. All right, so that's an introduction, basic sort of what Zhang is going to be, what it's going to look like. We'll do one more sort of full body here. And kind of from the side. It's kind of hard with the hoodie. One more thing before I close out here is they're talking about motion and stillness, or stillness and motion. So as you're playing like the routines for Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua, there's a certain stillness in your mind and your intent as you're playing. You're moving from the Dantian, and you're focused on there as you're moving. But that the movement kind of makes a certain stillness of thought and mind necessary. Now, when you're still, there's going to be slight movements. There's going to be getting those little intricate alignments involved. There's going to be the moving of the energy. Even as you're standing there, there's still going to be stuff moving that you want to move. Again, standing is going to have that big polarity. So it's like bum, 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 going through, stuff coming in from the top, stuff coming up from the bottom, and, managing those things and those forces in the body as well. Might not just look like some dude standing there, hugging their imaginary girlfriend or whatever, but there's a lot, if done correctly, there's a lot that is correctly going on, and some things that are struggles or things that need to be worked on can get tweaked and worked on, and other things that are strengths and doing well. I don't mean strength as in, I can lift a bottle, but I mean like strength as the things that are working for you and doing well. But also things, that's also something to watch out for, because something you're holding on to can be a strength and you need to let that go. That's where some of those other those dissolving meditations almost start coming in. But you need to kind of, it doesn't look like much, but it's a lot. And I've said if some weird, law or something gets passed, that it's like, all right, you're a Tai Chi teacher, you're only allowed one thing. You can either do sitting, or your Tai Chi, or your Shingi, or your Bak. You can only do one thing. That's it. It would probably be this, because this sort of encompasses, at least in terms of my experience, that's all I'm going off of here, my experience, this sort of encompasses a lot of what's been really helpful about my sitting practice, and what's been really helpful about my moving practice with the Neja Chuan, the Taiji Shingi Bagua. This sort of is almost like that sort of axis mundi midpoint between those two things. For me, that if now all of a sudden it was like, this is all you're allowed to do, this would be the one thing I would do. So I don't know why. There's some sort of like, if you stripped everything down and you're only allowed one thing, that's it, what would it be? This would be it. It would still be nice to do the sitting and everything, but it was just the way my mind works, or something like that. So if it was like you're only allowed one thing in Xingyi, what would you do? It'd be splitting. You're only allowed one thing in Taiji, what would it be? It'd be tempting to say, well, let's practice silk reeling, and you can make anything silk reeling. But if it was like, no, one of the sort of postures, I'd probably pick grass bird's or grass sparrow's tail from Yang style. Part of it is I'm just more practiced and more used to Yang style than Chen or Sun, but also that I think really encompasses a whole lot of things. It's almost like a mini push hand shadow boxing routine of itself. It works on those main 4 of the 8 energies with that. I probably run it down for that. If they're like Bagua, that's one thing. It's either Cheng first palm change, or just even Green Dragon stretches his claws the mother palm with it. So I kind of think that way of strip it down. If you could only do one thing, what would it be? And if I was only allowed to do, like I said, one thing, and that includes sitting meditation in this as well, this what I just showed would be what I would do. All right, so like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll keep going on some of the standing stuff here as well. I'm going to do a just sort of a short, maybe like 5-minute or so standing meditation with this. And then I'm going to do one where we're going to do some alternate postures with this that's still kind of on the same idea, but we're going to do a little bit different stance with it. So instead of even, we're going to do about 70-30, one leg kind of in front of the other. And go from there. So I'll have another one kind of introducing that, and then we'll go and do like a guided meditation with that as well. So have fun, be safe, be good, and stay healthy, everybody. It's weird out there.